Hello, everyone. This is Steven Schinder here with another Yes Shift. This is kind of a double thing. It's not just Steven's venue adventures, but also Steven's vinyl adventures. So I'm going to be recapping a concert that I went to on Saturday, April 26th at the Lodge Room in Los Angeles. It featured Conflict at Serenity Pools, Ruth Radelet, as well as Adam Miller, and Ruby Haunt. And I also got a couple records from the merch stand at that show. I got Gateways by Adam Miller, and I got Blinking in the Wind by Ruby Haunt. So I'll recap all that and talk about the records. And first, I want to, give you know, a little look ahead at what comes after this. So, tomorrow night, Tuesday, April 29th, 6 p.m. Pacific, we are interviewing Chris Clark, keyboardist for John Anderson and the Band Geeks. So, that'll be fun. And we are also having Billy Sherwood on the show on Monday, May 5th, 2 p.m. Pacific. He has a solo tour coming up. So we'll talk about that and whatever else comes up in the conversation. And as far as Yes circles and Yes fan circles go, I just want to acknowledge the passing of Earl Grey. I wasn't very familiar with him, but from what I could tell, I saw Billy Sherwood posted about him, about how talented he was. He was a musician himself, and I've seen other friends in the Yes fandom post about him. So, really unfortunate loss. He was dealing with cancer, but yeah, so do what you can to remember him if you knew him. There's no easy way to segue from any of that, but you just gotta remember the people who pass away. So today, April 28th, I was debating whether to go live with this concert recap slash review yesterday or today, and not to be confused with a similarly titled Yes song. But yesterday ended up being super busy, but it's actually pretty fitting that I ended up doing this today because April 28th is the birthday of Ruth Radelet, who was one of the performers at this concert that I attended. And I also saw that today is Eddie Jobson's 70th birthday. So, he was in Yes for a little bit. He was briefly glimpsed in that Owner of a Lonely Heart music video, and we are ever curious what the band would have been like with him in it. But yeah, so after this, go listen to something Eddie Jobson related. But yeah, happy birthday to him and happy birthday to Ruth Radelet. So this concert, I found out about it in mid-February, so I got tickets then. I've been to prior to this two Ruth Radelet solo shows that were part of other shows, other headliners, and before that I saw her perform with Chromatics back in 2019. So, but the main headliner for this, though, seemed to be Ruby Haunt, and so I knew that she was opening for that band. I was not very familiar with Ruby Haunt, but I managed to listen to their first several releases before going to this concert. So they started in 2015 with an album called Hurt, and I was able to go up to I believe I went up to the album titled Bully, so that's about seven releases from the looks of it. And then later on, as the concert was approaching, I found out that Conflict at Serenity Pool, it's this guy, this artist, and that's what he's billed as. That Conflict at Serenity Pools would be opening as well. So I was not able to make time to listen to that material. So that material was very new to me at the concert. Um, and this was in Highlands, Los Angeles, I believe is the name of the area. And I was able, sorry, you might hear the fan in the background right now. And I was able to actually grab dinner beforehand at somewhere nearby called Highly Likely. Let me see if I can share some photos there. Let me just open the folder that has those photos. And then I'll cycle through those, show you what I ordered and the photos I took at the show as well. So the place is called Highly Likely, and let me share my screen. Window. Uh, okay, here it is. So I got this frappe thing there. I think it's called an all-day frappe. I could be misremembering, but I remember it had some sort of catchy name. It's of this slushy thing. It's really refreshing. And I got these buttered noodles, these deviled eggs, and this has I believe that it's a type of mushroom. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but yeah, this was a very good meal. And I don't know, maybe depending on people's diets, they'll have like different feels with this type of food. But yeah, and also your mileage may vary when it comes to prices. But I was really glad I tried all of these at Highly Likely. So then I went to the lodge room, which felt kind of hidden the way that it was. So there's this place called Checkered Hall, which looks like a dining place. And if you go around the corner of it, sort of behind it, like on the wall, there's a door. And so I had to ask, hey, does this go to the lodge room? And if, the wall, it looked when you go inside and the stairs and stuff, it has kind of a grungy feel when you go inside. But then once you go through and get to the second level of this building, I guess this would be above Checkered Hall. The look of it, you go into one room which has a merch stand and then go through a doorway that has this here. And you can see it's a very nice looking room. It's not one of those venues where you're seated. It's very much a standing venue. And behind where I took this, there's a bar as well. But I do not get alcoholic beverages at concerts because I want to be able to really take it in. I did get a Coke later on, just a normal Coke with some ice in it. But yeah, before the show, they were playing these old cartoons, but without the sound. They had the music, not the music of the cartoon, but music from what I had assumed were uh, maybe a couple of the artists, like Ruby Haunt. But thinking back, I'm not really sure who the artists for the songs that they were playing prior to the show were. But you had these classic cartoons, and you can see like these little chandeliers on the ceiling and stuff. And there's a really nice painting on the wall. I think there were a couple of different paintings. There's this old Looney Tunes cartoon where Bugs Bunny looks really weird and Elmer Fudd looks more round. And it includes like this bit where there's a giant Easter egg, and out of it comes more like little mini Bugs Bunnies. It was really weird. I'm really curious about the overall plot of the cartoon because and it kind of reminded me of hearing about the 90125 tour and how there were some Bugs Bunny cartoons prior to those shows. So I thought that was very fascinating. But when the show started, Well, before I walked into this place, actually, I went to the merch stand and got the Ruby Haunt vinyl record, Blinking in the Wind. There were several, maybe their entire catalog was on the table, and it was really tough for me to choose. So I thought to myself, do I go to the next one that in their chronology that I haven't listened to, which I think might have been In the Middle of Nowhere? But then I thought, I asked, is this the most recent one? Blinking in the Wind, and they said yeah. So I went ahead and bought that one because you want to show the artists that you love getting the new stuff. So I'm pretty happy with that. And yeah, so the concert started with Conflict at Serenity Pool. Now, when it comes to video, screens behind the artist, um, with the 3D graphics I've talked about before, those can be kind of hit and miss for me. But here, I really liked this footage of grass, and you'd get flowers and stuff that felt very kind of reminded me a bit of some David Lynch stuff. Um, showing red flowers and also showing mountains and whatnot, different landscapes. So I really dug the overall vibe of this. Conflict at Serenity Pools music feels like it's very, oh, here's a really nice, colorful collage type thing. It looks very psychedelic. Um, but yeah, his stuff very much fits the vibe of the moody music of Ruth Radelet and Ruby Haunt. So I can see why they thought it was a great idea to have all of these artists together. So then let me read the set list. So again, I was not familiar with the songs in this set. So sorry, I was looking at something. I'm trying to pull up the set list. So I was not familiar with the songs. So later on, I went ahead and messaged Conflict at Serenity Pools, and I was like, this music was new to me. What were the names of the songs? And so I got them here. They were Bermuda Grass, Mellow and Shiny, Rosy Dream 1, which that one I figured out based on a lyric I was able to hear and I Googled later, and Golden View. So I was very surprised that only 4 songs were listed here, because it kind of felt like a couple of them could have been 2 different songs, maybe, or if they went longer than you would expect just looking at the song length. If you look at the track lists on Bandcamp, and you can find all these artists on Bandcamp. So yeah, Conflict at Serenity Pools is on Bandcamp, and there are several releases there. Going back to 2022, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I was really down with this first set. It was a great way to open up the whole thing. And then comes the more familiar set, familiar to me anyway, Ruth Radelet and her band. And she said that she's been to the Lodge Room many times before, and this is her first time performing there. So I guess she's seen other artists perform here, and yeah, maybe I should keep up with this venue and see what other artists might come around. I really should do that with all these different venues, but then again, my schedule also gets really hectic, so and most of her set list had stuff she'd performed at other shows I'd seen her perform. I'll go ahead and read that off right now. So she performed Stranger, Sometimes, Youth, and Crimes, which are all from her EP, The Other Side, which I gave another listen before coming on here. Not too long ago, maybe sometime last year, possibly, I did an episode on this record, this EP. Kind of doubled with an Earthside record because this one's called The Other Side, so I figured why not. And yeah, I love this EP. But after those songs, she played The Line, which is a Soft Kill song, which she contributed to. And then after that, she said, "Go play a new song." And it was called "The Veil," and this is from a new video game called Bloom and Rage. And there were a couple other songs on there that she, Nat Walker, and Adam Miller, who used to be in Chromatics, contributed to. They on that video game soundtrack. They also played Dreamer and The Wild Unknown. But yeah, I think it was before The Veil that she said, I co-wrote this with someone. We used to be in a band together, and someone in the crowd was like, "Is it Adam?" And she was like, "Yeah, his name is Adam," and it was Adam Miller, the guitarist. Um, and yeah, they this was their first time playing it, and afterward, she said, "Well, we might have messed up a little bit, but it was good." And then she said, "You might recognize this song. It's called Shadow." And of course, that song is basically what drew me into Chromatics, the band that they used to be in. When that song showed up on Twin Peaks: The Return 8 years ago, I was just really taken with that song. And I was singing along to a few of these songs, but trying not to be disruptive to the people like around me. And yeah, really great rendition. Afterward, I will say that going back to the whole video game soundtrack, it would have been cool to also see Dreamer and Wild Unknown performed at this show, but maybe the band still needs to rehearse those newer songs. Maybe those could show up at a later set list. So something I hope to see at a later show. But yeah, after her set, there's another break. I went to the merch stand where Ruth was handling the merch, and people were in line buying stuff from her. I saw people buying her shirts and her record, and I was, kind of aware of, I was thinking about the last time we had met at the Zebulon last August. I remember I'd walked up to her to say hi, and thinking back, after the fact, I realized I might have interrupted a conversation between her and her friends. And so I was very aware and trying not to be, I was trying to converse correctly here, I guess. But she was conversing with everyone who came up to the table in line. And so when, sorry, you might hear the fan again. But so when it was time for me to go up, uh, we had a good chat. I looked at the records. I was like, I don't have this one, pointing to Adam's record, but also reiterating that I love the other side, her EP. And, she said thanks and whatnot. And I said that this was another great show. And she mentioned that, I mentioned that hearing that they had done new music for that video game was really exciting. And she was like, yeah, it was really great to work with these guys again. And she mentioned again that they messed up the new song a little bit. And I was like, well, I didn't notice. And in either case, it makes a unique concert, So, it was a really great chat. I was really glad that it went well. And I got Adam Miller's record Gateway. Adam was also at the table, but at that moment he was talking with a couple other people, and I didn't want to, be get in the middle, like interrupt the conversation. So I sort of, as I was, Ruth said, "Have a good night," and I said, "You too," and was walking back to where the music was going to be played by Ruby Haunt. And as I was walking away, I turned to Adam um, and I think held up his record. I was like, "Have a good night." And I don't know if he saw me or um, heard me or something, but Yeah, I think I said have a good night, or I at least held it up. But yeah, I don't know if he saw or heard, but I was just really hyper aware and trying not to interrupt anything. But Ruby Haun's set list was starting right as I was getting back inside this room, and let me just cycle through all these pictures. Yeah, sometimes it would look kind of foggy, but I think I got some really good pictures here. There's a blue lighting. This one's from further away. You can see like the green lights, and oh, there's red, and yeah. I'll talk about this one later. So the set list for their show, I was able to Google the lyrics, as I was hearing some of them. Although there were some songs where it was tough to decipher the lyrics because I don't know if it was where I was standing, but I would move to different parts of this room to see if there was anywhere I could hear better. And there are also a couple instrumentals, and again, I was not as super familiar with this band's material. It might also be considered. Would it be considered dream pop? I don't even know, but the vibe is kind of similar to Chromatics and Ruth Radelet and Conflict at Serenity Pool. Um, but I was able to piece together most of their set list, and then afterward, I messaged them as well, saying, "Hey, these are the songs I noticed. Like, can you tell me what I'm missing?" And so they let me know what the songs were. So their set list was Head Rush, and then Destroyer. That's one that they had to tell me. Sorry Sabrina, Darling, Sunfish, and then after that is the next two. They had to tell me these ones: Curtain Call, and then an instrumental titled Answering Machine. Then after that, Strangers, Sanctuary. Kind of interesting that Ruth Radelet played Stranger earlier in the show, and now they were playing Strangers, plural. And then came another instrumental. That one is titled Clearing, as they told me. Then Cobwebs, and then this last one that they let me know was Diving Bell. Then after that was Crave, and they left the stage, and everyone was chanting one more song, and so they came back, and they did play one more song. It's called Jayun. I think that's how it's pronounced. It sounded like it started with a hard G when I heard it in concert, but looking at it, it's spelled with a J. So yeah, and I really liked their moody, laid back feel. Is really cool. And people were really into this, so yeah, I definitely want to get back through the rest of Ruby Haun's discography. And as I got outside and was waiting for my ride, I noticed on the sidewalk of this ad for Enchante, a new album by Tim Atlas, out now. So this was, I guess, spray painted on the sidewalk or something outside of this venue. And I did give this a listen after, like earlier today. Actually, I guess it'd be considered R&B, um, and it's I guess kind of poppy as well. I could imagine these Enchante being on the radio. Let me actually share an image of this. This is also on Bandcamp. Tim Atlas Enchante. So I'll go ahead and share that tab that shows the album cover. Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed listening to this one, especially Sushi in Wyoming. That track was just off the wall. It's really cool. So definitely give that a listen. I looked at I guess he's touring right now, but he was also already in Los Angeles last month. But after, the next day, Sunday, I was able to listen to these records that I got. So first off, I'll show Gateway by Adam Miller. So let me set my mic down and then I'll hold the record up. Give me a sec. I'm gonna mute this for a moment. Okay, I'm back. Um, yeah, I gotta figure out like the best way to set my mic here. All right, so this is Gateway by Adam Miller. Um, yeah, it's got that blue cover and he's silhouetted. This one, yeah, so this is Gateway by Adam Miller. It's got the blue and it's silhouetted. That's his silhouette there. This one came out in early 2022. So I think it was, and it says copyright Inner Magic 2021. Um, this was, uh, I guess this was being made like pretty much around the time that Chromatics broke up, because they broke up toward the end of 2021, from what I remember. There's a track list there. And I'll go ahead and uh, all right, sorry about that. So this is how the inside, what was on the inside, looks. It's got more grain on there. It's not very easy for me to show the whole thing on the screen here. Yeah, it's got green on the edges there. And then go ahead and show the record. So it's black and it's got the that's that illustration of Stonehenge in the middle with the Inner Magic logo. And I guess those are dice as well. Yeah, like look at that. It's got the song titles, and I wrote down my thoughts on the individual tracks. These are all instrumental tracks on Gateway. So side one includes Lost Guitar, which begins a mysterious vibe, and The Lucky Star, kind of a similar title. It feels like it continues that same vibe. Glimmerlight has some sort of sound effect that kind of reminds me of TV static and distant thunder, which I guess if you think about it, TV, like television, has like electricity that feels distant in a way, so maybe there's something there. Then Consulate, which feels a bit more electric. Hidden Entrance has kind of what I describe as an accusatory beginning. Then you got The Name of the Lost, which feels kind of windy at first, then settles into a different vibe. And then you get Night Bloom, which reminds me of sailing in the night. And then Libra, which I don't know if Adam is considered a Libra. I should mention that somewhere on this sleeve it says based on true events, which I guess lots of songs are like that. Inspiration from real life. And then yeah, so Libra felt like closing the night. That was the vibe I got. And then side two has Gateway, which has kind of an unassuming intro. Voyeur, which makes me think of Counting Stars for some reason, even though the title doesn't really seem like it would relate to that. Then Blue Energy is a bit slower. Then you get the Painted Boy, which sounds a bit like one of the earlier tracks at first, but has a haunting end. Hologram was another slower one. Erosion kind of has the sound of erosion in a way, just the way the music moves. Then you get Missing Time, which reminds me of clock ticking and being underwater. Window is very brief, as if it's a small window of time. And The Shared Dream has, I think this one had kind of a foreign sounding ending, which is very interesting. Then Alien Summer, which does kind of make me feel the upbeat summer vibe. So yeah, I really enjoyed this record. It really shows you what Adam contributed to chromatic sound when you listen to his stuff in isolation. And then I'll go ahead and share the Ruby Haunt record. Just making sure I'm like really careful with all this stuff. So this is what the front looks like. Yeah, I feel like it kind of complements how the photography on Ruth Radelet's The Other Side looks with the trees and stuff. I'll show you the backside too. It's more yellowish on the back. Looks like it's indoors. I guess that's a piano right there, but it looks really blurry. You got the track list there in the corner. And the record is in this... yeah, it's in this. It's black. I'll go ahead and take it out. The record itself is also black and has the photography in the middle along with the track lists. And I'll go ahead and read my notes for the tracks on that record. So Sunfish begins with a yeehaw. And yeah, I remembered hearing this one in the concert. Then there's Angel Ring, which has a laid back feel again. I like the keys on this one. Jackpot continues kind of the same vibe. And Spirit was very brief, very short runtime. And then Stained Glass begins with these, I describe them as like dancing keys. And I was surprised when side A ended. And this is a very short record. I guess it's maybe 25, 26 minutes, something like that. So would that be considered an EP? Maybe. Then side B, Dogpile, sounds like it might have a violin. Myra, the lyric Lost Our Invitation to the Coursing Sun stood out to me. Pointing at the Moon, that track has a fade out, which has, it feels like it has this effect of winding down as it gets to this final track twice around. And this one is more upbeat, kind of reminds me of Lumineers. Yeah, this is another one of those records where you don't really get the title on the sleeve or on the record itself. So I can see how that might be an issue for some people, because it's like, well, what is this called? But you can see what's called on Bandcamp. But yeah, it's an interesting decision, and I like the music regardless. The vocals I noticed were they felt kind of slightly muffled in a way, like that's kind of the style of their singing here. So maybe that's the band's thing. Maybe that's why in concert it felt that way. I guess I didn't really notice on the previous releases of theirs I listened to. I might have to revisit those and see again. Definitely stood out more after all this. But yeah, really great concert. Second one of the year for me, and it featured a few different artists. So it was a really fun time. Really glad I was able to go. So thanks for tuning in. Sorry for all the chaos with the mic and all that. But Yeah, so we'll be back tomorrow night interviewing Chris Clark about John Anderson and the Band Geeks and whatever else comes up. And we got Billy Sherwood next week. So stay tuned. And you can follow Yes Shift on Facebook and YouTube and type us in a podcast app. You'll probably find us. And you can also write to yesshiftpodcast@gmail.com and let us know any feedback, thoughts, suggestions. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in and see you all soon.